is an article about how best to use a pen if you want to do layer masks, and I think it's a really interesting article. I'm not specifically using a pen. I don't actually own a tablet. I've seen them used. Wacom makes them. They're really cool. I just don't. I don't really need one at the moment, but someday I might get one. Anyway, look at this picture here. Okay, so you got the subject exposed. They edited it for the subject. They lightened everything. Okay, but you notice the sky is very lacking contrast. Then they edited the image for the sky. Okay, but you notice that everything is mostly dark. A lot of the things that you're going to find when you do Photoshop, you're going to come into situations like this. What they say to do is to use a layer mask. We've done that already. We're going to do one on a photo of ours that has part of it that's too dark that we want to fix. So I think the more comfortable you are with this, the better you'll be in feeling confident to use it. I want to teach you some stuff that you actually, get the grasp of, so that when if you can get the best of both with their finished image, then that's what you're after, and you want to do it in a way that's quick and effective. It looks good. So what you do is you make that. I know your dialog box doesn't look quite like this. Your buttons look different and stuff, but you have a new layer, and you have this adjustment layer with a black and white cookie. So you're going to open that layer. Now what they're doing is making a base for their actions. They're copying a primary layer from the background. We're not really doing that. We're just going to be working on. The reason that you might want to do this is because you have your new layer could be your edited one. So if you did end up copying your background, you'd unlock it and you'd copy it, and then you'd make a layer of the adjustments, depending on if you adjusted for this or for this. But you'd have already adjusted it, and then you would use the layer mask to go back and do the stuff with it. To focus on the areas that you want to stay, and everything that you blot out with the black would be where your adjustment goes away. And you did this once before, so that little white thing there next to layer 1, that's where you actually do your brushing to remove the detail. And you can use different kinds of brushes. If you want, you can use a brush that's more faded if you need to fade it out, if it's sky to water. If you want to use something more crisp, you can too, but I suspect that at times you're going to want to gently, as they say here, gently paint over the areas you wish to hide. And those are the areas that you don't want affected. So this would come into play where you have a couple areas that you want to show. I didn't necessarily look down and follow exactly what they were doing. I guess you could look really closely, is what you kind of have to do, to see where they did their darkening and then where they lifted their darkening out, I guess. It looks like they kind of feathered in really lightly in the sky to adjust that. So, and they're going back and forth. They're going in with the black, and then they're lifting stuff out with the white. So I can't exactly see how that all works, but it's a pretty interesting process. This is a very cool article. This is called Color Diagnosis, and I think it's really vital way for you guys to first start learning about how to edit. When you get your photo, there's two major ways you can go. Okay, first would be you add a photo filter later, which I've done a lot. I've had some success with. I'll show you some images from that tonight. That I just use photo filters on. You can see the difference. You have all the way left, you have the warmest, and then they're adding a cooler filter to kind of give it a different feel. One's got a neutral filter, I guess, which is more of a like a brown orange, but and then we'll all do to blue. So that's a different kind of direction that you would go, I guess. The other one would be where you the direction would be where you go and you do some color balancing. Sometimes they give you some shots to choose from, like this. You can, and Elements definitely has a really good color variance feature, which we can go over. But I think some of these are, what you have, what's lighter, and what would look darker. And you can play around with it a little bit, which is nice. It gives you some setups, some presets, but then you can kind of experiment a little bit with it. And you can also move the sliders around a little bit, which is helpful. Just to, if you notice it's one thing or the other, this will help you to kind of range your tones. Whether it's shadows, midtones, or highlights, you might know exactly where the bouncing light, the wrong color light's coming from. You want to get rid of it. Like if it's a shirt and it's looking orange or red, you can change that around. Especially if you only have one picture to use. That's the thing about digital photography. We think, a million shots are possible, but a lot of times we only have a couple, and we have to get those edited effectively. This is an adjustment when they're using levels, and we've talked about levels a little bit. Adjusting the midtones 3 different ways. The original's in the middle, and looks like they moved the midtones lower and higher on either side of there. It's kind of interesting. They're doing some stuff with selective color here, which we're not going to really talk about. But curves is really important, especially if you have the wrong color. Like, they didn't really want this to be orangey here. They wanted it to look more like stone. So they curved it out towards blue, which is the opposite on the color wheel of orange. And what it did was it took, when you bend in the middle like this, you're bending out the midtones and you're pushing things the opposite way towards the blue, away from orange, and they would neutralize that. They made it look more white light, less warm. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing to show you. So photo filters, okay, simple color balance variations, manual color adjustments, levels, and curves. Those are the major things. Those I'd say that 4 major things is filters, setup presets, levels, and curves. I very infrequently use the manual adjusters. It's just too hard to tell. Now there's some other things too. You can replace color if you really think it's off, and you need it brighter or darker. Hue saturation, that's another manual adjustment thing, but it's right there. It can do some good changes, and you can do an adjustment layer with it too, which is nice, especially if you want to edit like one color and change it a little bit. You can do that if it's in the same range, and if it's a completely different range, you can replace it. I guess when you look at the background here, you see a green reflection, and over here you see a red reflection, and it just brightened the whole thing up a lot. It's really hard to get the exact right color sometimes, but it looks like they were able to there. There's things with gradients we can do. I'm not going to really go over that right now, but this color match thing is pretty cool. It looks like it's a Creative Suite tool, which we don't have on these machines, but you might have this installed on the one you have at home. So look for color match. This is pretty cool. I'll put a graphic of this up on the website. It's pretty interesting. It's the analysis of how easy it is to change things and what it does. This is cool.